All right. I'm going to run it up on a Wednesday night. Appreciate you guys hopping on here. Got a few people in the chat, a few people on the live. Man, what a time to be alive. I've got something on different tonight than I normally wear. And it's because I'm excited. We have the AMM going live here in a few hours. And so I took the occasion to break out the spinner chain. If I haven't ever worn this on a live before, but I have a good friend and a client that got this for me. Man, it's probably been more than a year ago now, and only break it out on special occasions when I really am excited about XRP and the promise of everything that's going on. So I hope you guys can appreciate it. I know it's out of character, but anyway, wanted to wear it tonight. So lots of things happening. You got, the sanctions that with Tether that we've been talking about for a long time, starting to look like they're going to happen. You've got the AMM amendment and the fixes being pushed. You've got Japan and the yen really to the point of where it's going to break. You've got the CPI that came in higher than expected today. The Fed's backed into a corner. You've got Uniswap that was now served a Wells notice by the SEC, potentially, looking into whether or not they're a broker dealer. Mikkel, if you guys don't watch his channel, I would highly recommend it. He puts out a lot of good content. Put out a really good video earlier today on that topic. And but anyway, there's just so many things all culminating at once for really kind of the perfect storm for XRP to take main stage and actually be used at scale for adoption in Swift and other applications. The market maker just really, I think, is going to be the secret sauce that allows real world adoption and use case at scale for the XRPL and XRP. And again, that's why I've got it on. Like I said, normally don't break this out unless I really am excited. But those that have been around for a long time have seen this maybe once or twice before. I used to run a private group on Facebook and get on there occasionally with this. And anyway, it's been a while, but I figured I'd break it out tonight because I'm excited about where we're at and excited about where we're going. And just happy to be here with you guys on a Wednesday night. So that's how I wanted to start it off. We'll go ahead and get into some questions here, just Q&A. We'll run it up with y'all. And hopefully we can provide y'all some value. So this is good. We'll start off here. So if USDT were to collapse, and let's see, would all the altcoins pegged to USD collapse as well? Would one sell their USDT pegged altcoins? Thank you. Potentially, right? So let me break this down for you. The value of a token is really only what you can sell it for, right? What it's trading for on an exchange and what people are willing to speculate it's worth. Because there's really no real world utility driving any of the pricing in crypto right now. It's all speculation and the volume on exchanges. So if the liquidity on exchanges were to freeze up, and USDT is the liquidity on exchanges, bar none. Like there's 150 billion in stablecoin value. It makes up 85, 90% of that. If that were to get sanctioned and that liquidity no longer existed, everything that was paired to that would probably go down in value in the short term. Things that had more pairs and other pairs that weren't impacted by USDT would likely be okay. There's been a lot of exchanges. We saw OKX just recently delist all of their USDT pairs. I think Bitrue did that a little while back. I take that back. They still have USDT on there. There's been a good number of exchanges that have started to delist it was Binance. That's what it was. Removed a bunch of USDT pairs. And I actually asked their chief compliance officer about that in Dubai, and she was like, "Whatever the public statement was, we have to stick with that. I can't tell you anything besides the public statement." So yeah, to answer your question, anything that was paired to that would collapse in value in the short term because you wouldn't be able to liquidate it. Hopefully, whatever it is paired, if it's only pegged to USDT, yeah, it's like done. If there are other pairs, that's where people are going to be moving to get out of those tokens. So you'd see a rush for the door. And some people had pointed this out. Almost everything's paired to BTC or ETH. So you would think there would be a large spike in those. But if there were headwinds for both of those, like we're seeing, I don't know if you guys were on Twitter earlier, when James O'Keefe was on there and they had Steve Nureyev and a lot of the, Alex Jones was in the space, Grant Cardone was in the space. There was a lot of big name people that are finally starting to get behind and understand ETHgate and the implications for that. Again, we've got, Uniswap being served the Whales notice. So I don't know, man. I think Ethereum's in for a beating. Bitcoin would have huge implications for Bitcoin if USDT were to go down. It is the liquidity that stood behind Bitcoin and caused the price appreciation that we've seen in that asset. And so, yeah, liquidity crisis there would have broad scale implications for the total crypto market. But if you did have the AMMs go live right at the same time, and you had other liquidity moving on to the XRPL, I've talked about this before. I kind of see that as the arc or the safe haven, and I think a lot of people will run to that if that circumstance were to play out. I can see a liquidity crisis looming, like by the end of the week type situation. There's the Fed's backed into a corner. They can't lower rates. If they do, we have hyperinflation. If they raise rates, everybody goes bankrupt and collapses. You saw a spike in treasuries this morning, almost back up to I think we're at 4.5% on the 10-year. If we get close to the 10%, close to the 5% mark again on the 10-year treasury, it's just going to be bad news bears. And the yield curve's still inverted. 2-year treasuries are trading higher interest rates than the 10-year treasury, which is not normal and not good. The yen, I think earlier, was at 153 per US dollar, and that's where they said that they would step in and intervene. Markets are alive in Japan right now, so we'll see what they do to intervene with the yen. But Tether in particular, I think that we saw them freeze the first account today. It had almost 10 million Tether in it. I think that will continue, and likely there will be sanctions issued against that stablecoin, and that'll usher in stablecoin regulation too. A lot of that's been discussed over the past, really heavily over the past 24 hours. Atlantic Living says, Jake, you mentioned only focusing on XRP as investment. Can you explain your resistance to investing in other projects? I don't really have a resistance. I think there's a lot of other projects that I think will do extremely well in the long term. HBAR, Algorand, XLM, VeChain. A lot of people are bullish on Quant. I haven't really understood Quant. Chainlink, there's other oracles, IOTA. There's a lot of different projects Casper is another one that I'm really bullish on. There's not as the ROI on XRP in the short term, I think, is significantly higher than anything else. And my capability to be able to leverage that long term, if it is given the designation as a tier 1 asset in the banking system, like I think it will be second to none, aside from US treasuries or other sovereign treasuries and gold. I think that I'll have just the capability to take leverage loans against that and then redeploy that liquidity into other opportunities that may have further upside beyond that. My thesis is XRP moves first with stablecoin regulations, and also moves the highest and has the greatest return in the situation that we're in. And we'll see if I'm right or wrong on that. I've foregone a lot of other gains in the short term. Solana would have been a fantastic play over the last 12 months. If you'd got in at the bottom, when FTX happened, I know people that did that and went in heavy. They've made a ton of money and had great returns. There's been meme coins on Solana that I know people that are trading. I don't play in that space. I've missed out on a bunch of stuff. Doge and SHIB on those meme coins. Never participated in either one of those. I missed out on the NFT craze. I didn't really get in on that. I know a lot of people that made money there and have continued to make money there. Bored Ape, the Yacht Club, Ape Token, the Lands of the Meta, all of that stuff. Didn't get in on that. So I've sat on the sideline and just continued to stack in one asset that I know is going to work out and pay out really well. And I made a lot of money in 20 and 21 being diversified. I probably would have done better this cycle had I been diversified. But, I sleep really well just holding XRP and nothing else, because I know that that's going to work out even in an environment where everything else is nothing's for sure, right? So you got US Treasuries. They're not going to default, but there's other people that could dump US Treasuries and destabilize the market when that's traditionally a risk-off play. I talked to Michael Gade earlier today. I think him and I will do a space on Twitter. We both get along really good. If you guys don't follow him, he's pretty funny. Anyway, he wants Treasuries to do well because that's where his funds parked, right? And it works on algorithms and rules. It's a rules-based fund. It operates the same whether he's alive or not tomorrow. And so the risk-off play for him is always Treasuries, which traditionally would do very well. Same thing with bonds. You normally rebalance, right? And that's how portfolio management's worked over the last 50 years here. When stocks are down, you reallocate to bonds. They tend to they perform inversely. But right now, both of them are underperforming in the current environment, which is very unusual. And I think you could see a collapse in almost everything. If there was a liquidity crisis, like an ICE 9, like Jim Rickards talks about, which is where I think we're on the precipice of, everybody runs into cash is where they run. And then, just it's an unprecedented time. And so that for me, I'm parking my stuff where I know it does well on the other side of it. It might even take a downturn in the short term, but I'm willing to take that bet and ride through it because I know it works out on the other side. So that's why I'm parked where I am. It's the only thing that I'm sure on. And so I'm traditionally very risk adverse. I'm not a trader. I've tried that. That's too high stress. Anyway. And most people, I will say, that I talk to that are fund managers, hedge fund managers, portfolio managers, they actively trade other people's money, but their portfolio is in they park it somewhere where they don't have to think about it, or they give it to another fund manager where they handle it. Right? It's just interesting. You would think people that do really well and manage other people's money and have all this insight to hedge risk would do the same thing with their portfolios. And they may manage a portion of their own money, but the large majority of it are stuck in whatever they think is going to do well long term, where they can just set it and forget it, like the average person. So it's my thesis. Greg, appreciate your question here. He says, what are your thoughts on Swiss National Bank not wanting to issue a public CBDC, but a wholesale CBDC that could be welcomed for more efficient cross-border payments? So we went to, I'm going to get my R3 hoodie on here. We had really blessed to be able to go to Swell last year in November in Dubai, me and my CTO. And we got to talk to the head of their CBDC program while we were there. And Joel is his name. And when we were talking to him, I had always thought that there would be a differentiation between wholesale and retail CBDCs. And my thesis, and still somewhat is that they would be able to print as much as they need to be able to institute UBI and offset the deflationary effects of technology and hold price stability. But he mentioned that the wholesale CBDCs and the retail CBDCs would be one and the same. Wouldn't be a differentiation there. So if they're wanting to just issue a wholesale CBDC, I would assume that it could be applicable in a retail application also. And maybe that's where they just start with things. And that's what I kind of think. I think wholesale CBDCs for financial institutions will likely be the first that things go. And then maybe long term they roll that out to the public. But that's kind of my thought pattern there. We'll see, what ends up shaking out. A lot of really good questions. Atlantic Living is asked, question number 2. You mentioned XRP's value to be anywhere between $500,000 in the next 2 to 5 years. Am I understanding these estimates correctly? What are some factors that could derail your opinion? If it doesn't get adoption, would be the only way that happens, right? So if it is, if somehow it doesn't get all the money, Ripple's dent in the universe thesis doesn't take place, and it just gets like 10% of Swift's volume, and that's all it ever gets, we won't ever see those prices. It would only be somewhere between maybe $50 to $200 at most, if it only got that amount of volume. The price application that you're discussing there, the $500 to $1,000 a piece, I also don't know what dollars are worth in that situation. I'm hoping that they're worth what they're worth today, because that would allow you to buy a lot more goods and have a lot more value. There'd be a pretty significant real return on your investment if that were true. But yeah, that would be the only thing that would derail it, is if it really didn't get the adoption that I believe it will. However, at this point, I'm pretty confident that we do see those types of numbers. All right, scroll on down here. Lots of people running it up here in the chat. Appreciate you hopping on and joining me on a Wednesday night. I hope everybody is having a good week. If you didn't in the beginning, you're probably wondering, why do I look like a rapper this evening? And I've got my XRP chain on. I've got a client that got this for me early on in our relationship. Shout out to Kevin if he's watching, or anybody that's part of his business. I really appreciate him. He's been a longtime friend, and excited that he'll be able to retire his wife when all this shakes out. So let's see here. We've got Black 50 says, I read the book On the Table, Web3, Warren Buffett and a Web3 World. My CIO, Matt Schneider, wrote that book. If you guys want to check it out, order it on Amazon. It's great. I think he's brilliant. He's built our models. Kudos to Matt. He says, I need more education. The Carbon One in your masterclass is my new classroom and worth every penny. Thank you, brother. Yeah, we've got Beyond Broke Mastermind for people. Just super blessed to be a part of that community and kind of lead that group. Try to provide a lot of value there for people. I've been in groups that were, I paid a lot more money for, and I wanted to make sure that we could provide that value or more for a lot less, so $25 for a social membership. Really can't beat that. And then $100 a month for the Carbon One, and to be able to get access to private investments that we run in there. We try to make sure that you feel like you're getting one over on us, is what we try to do. So thank you for the compliments and the kind words, and I'm glad to have you as part of the group. Zach Rector running it up on Twitter. Appreciate you hopping in here, brother. If you guys don't follow Zach, go check him out. I'm sure a lot of people that are watching this probably already do. Excited to be part of XRP Unleashed. He got in before I did with the interview. And he was heckling Mickle the other night, telling me that all the good-looking men's spots were taken. He couldn't be part of the documentary. But I'm sure we would be glad to have Mikkel in there with us. Let's see here. TK has asked, how soon do you think Ripple will launch their stablecoin? Man, when it's needed. So the stipulation for the stablecoin bill is that you've launched or announced the launch of your stablecoin prior to the bill taking place, and then it gives a 2-year moratorium on everybody that has issued a stablecoin after that point. So my expectation would be that they would roll it out right before that bill were to be passed through the House and the Senate, and liquidity would be able to pour in there. And Zach, I put out my video today on the stablecoin on the YouTube channel. If you guys haven't checked that out, kudos to him. He pointed out, that this could be a framework really for how other people could launch a stablecoin on the XRPL. And I thought that was brilliant. So I put that in the video, but that was him that first put that out. So kudos to him over there. Let's see here. As Zach said, flexing hard with the R3 jacket. Yeah, when you spend as much money as we have on development with them, you would hope that you would get some swag. We'll say our rep over there is a very nice guy. Got to meet with him last week, and it was pretty cool. They're supposed to be sending us some coffee cups, so we'll see if that happens. But anybody in the Beyond Broke community actually just ordered like 100 of these. So at the next event, we will be passing out coffee cups. Max is on here watching tonight. He's my partner in the Mastermind, and that's all he ever wants when we work with somebody. It's just a coffee mug, So I figure if he likes them, then other people will like it too. What is the official time for the AMM fix going live? I think it's like 2:30 in the morning Central Standard Time. So like super early. They have to run one ledger after the amendment passes through and it is on. So I don't remember what that's called. There's a specific name for it, but it'll probably be another like 10 or 15 minutes after that where it actually is in use on the network, and we'll be able to participate, right? So interesting that'll be like 4:30 Japan time when the automated market maker goes live. So we'll have to see, what plays out over the next 48 hours here. It will go live at 3:50. Okay. 3:50 Eastern Standard Time, I think. That's my production team on the back end there. Appreciate you on that. Let's see here. This is a really good question. Appreciate you, Velv921. So what drives your passion for what you do and helping others in this fashion with your business? Seems like quite altruistic, as there is a deeper meaning as to why you're doing this. Yeah, I mean, I'll give you guys the vision. So my dad passed away in October of 22, and or maybe it was 21. It's been 2.5 years, so 22, and or I guess it was 21. It was 21. When he passed away, he had a lot of issues with the way things are currently being run. He was upset with the world, and rightly so. I think a lot of us are. His way of combating that was he was like, I'm getting off Facebook and I'm calling my congressman. You know how boomers are. Love them to death. Just different time and different mindset. And I tried to explain to him that wasn't going to do anything. Facebook does not care about your one page or membership on there. Your congressman, unless you lobbied for him and paid for his campaign, also really doesn't care. And so with that, I want a seat at the table. The little guy matters to me. I didn't have a hand up. I happened to be smart enough to put myself in the position that I am now, and I kind of got lucky a couple times in the right place at the right time. I think you make your own luck a little bit if you work really hard and you're willing to get into the right rooms and talk to the right people, and you're providing value and helping others, then other people will help you, right? It tends to be synergistic, and you got to align values with people. And the other thing, when he passed away, he thought he had a trust in place. He did not. He did not set things up correctly. He just did it online. And because of that, I saw what could have gone very poorly with his estate. Luckily, my brother and I were very amicable. We really didn't have any issues. We were able to divide up things as he wanted within his will, and we were cool. But if you had 4 or 5 kids and all of them weren't amicable, maybe there are harsh relationships or relationships that are strained in a family. If you don't have things set up in your estate correctly and somebody passes away, I've seen probate get drug out. I've seen families destroy relationships between one another, fighting over things. And anyway, so for me, a lot of what I do is because of my dad and him passing away and how he felt. But myself too, I'm self-driven, and I actually do want to make a difference for people. And to do that, you have to know the right people. You have to have the right relationships. You have to have resources. You have to be able to take care of yourself so that you can take care of others, right? And so a lot of what I've built has been selfish, and I've solved problems for myself. And so now that I'm in that spot and I am capable, I feel like it's my duty or obligation to help others, and provide, all the resources that I've built around myself selfishly for the community and for other people that may not have those or have the time, right? A lot of people work their 9-to-5 job, and they've got families, and they've got all these other things. And so for you to be able to come to one spot and just know that it's going to get handled, it's nice, right? And people are willing to trade some value for the value that they're receiving. Again, I always want people to feel like they got more from me than I took from them, and whatever the money was that they paid. Money tends to be the cheapest form to transact in. The free lunch is never free, I guess. But it doesn't mean it's a bad thing. If somebody buys lunch for you and there's synergy there, and you can help them, the reciprocity can go a long way, right? So anyway, I don't know. That's probably long and strung out, and maybe more than you wanted, and maybe different than what you had expected. But and I wouldn't say I'm altruistic. I meet a lot of people that are in fantasy land. I try to live in reality. I understand that there's good and bad in life, and that's just part of it. Especially being a man, you're going to have to deal with a bunch of crap most of the time, and that's your job. Women and children should get to be happy and enjoy a lot of freedoms in life. And as a man, your job's to provide those things. And so anyway, that's the story behind the passion and what I do, and why I'm so passionate about the things I am and our business, and also why I derive a lot of fulfillment from this. I really wouldn't be doing anything else, even if I didn't get paid to do any of this. It's nice to structure it where, incentives are aligned. But yeah, I really do enjoy what I'm doing, and I'm glad to be able to be in a spot where I can provide value and help other people. It's really nice. So thank you for the question. Let's see here. Scroll on down. He says, Dustin Bauer says, don't say end of week. My LLC paper still being processed. We got them filed. If it's through us, pushed everything through today, made sure that it was handled. We've had some delays just with the volume that we've brought on. And we also changed applications in the middle of that for providers that we were using. And so it's been a little bit delay on that stuff, but I think we should be able to expedite everything moving forward and have no further delays. So hopefully we can get everything situated for you. If you are concerned about that and you have filed an LLC with us, just email me at info@digitalfamilyoffice.io, and I'll go ahead and get you the operating agreement so you can go ahead and fill that out and get it notarized. And so that way you should be good, even if stuff were to take off here. Let's see. Caroline says, thank you for all that you do. Do you think I should sell/trade my Ethereum? I'm not a financial advisor. I can't give you financial advice. We have an RIA, and I have financial advisors that have licenses and certification to be able to provide financial advice. I can sit on your board of advisors and kind of like counteract people and work through things with you. I'll just tell you, I'll give you some data points and you can make your own decisions. Okay. That's what I try to do with people. ETHgate is coming to the forefront. There's going to be headwinds for Ethereum that I don't think a lot of the market anticipates. You've now got Uniswap that's been served a Wells notice by the SEC. I don't think it's far off that Solana could possibly have some similar implications with all the meme tokens and everything that's been launched there. So the SEC is going to continue to come after these projects. XRP is about out of the gate, right? And then we already have clarity for that asset as not a security. Everything else is on the chopping block, as far as I'm concerned. And so is there potential pretty significant downside for Ethereum in the short term? Quite possibly. I don't have a crystal ball. Nobody does. But I don't own any. So up to you. Like I said, can't tell you what to do. That's just the data points that I'm going to throw at you. If I were going to say things that were good for Ethereum, there's been a lot of things that have been built out on that network. There's a large possibility that the majority of those things could migrate to the side chain on the XRPL, which we know is compliant and capable of handling that. And does that bring the mainnet over? How does that affect the token for the underlying network? Your guess is as good as mine on that. The less things that are on that network being transacted, allowing the Ethereum token to transact and basically burn for gas fees, the less price will be associated with it. A lot of the volume and the price that's been driven is because there's other applications that have been built on that network. And so if those were to move away from that network, I would think that the token would regress in price. So up to you, but good question, and I appreciate it. Atlantic Living says, I agree with you regarding Casper. It's a real dark horse in the AI field. 39 billion space for AI. What's holding up its weak price movement? Everything's speculative right now. There'll be a point where Casper's used in traditional business or enterprise applications. One of the better components of Casper is that it has private and public capability. And so just like the XRPL, you can have private siloed ecosystems that are built on it that can transact over the mainnet with one another. I think that there's a huge future for Casper and its smart contract capability. We got to meet their team last year at Consensus, talk to them a little bit. We'll be back at Consensus again this year, late in May. And so hopefully we'll get to see them again. But yeah, I'm with you. I think for the price point, that's one of those that I'm like, all right, well, if I'm right about XRP and it does appreciate substantially, I'm hoping that one kind of stays back a little bit because I'm bullish on it, and it's definitely something that I want exposure to in the future, and maybe even to use in our business, right? That's the other thing. I've talked about this before, but if you're going to be using these digital assets in a business application or an enterprise application that you're developing or you think will be developed for your industry, when you're purchasing these things, you can actually write them off because it's an investment in software, right? So if you have a business that's in the business of whatever it is that's the use case for the token, you can buy it and sit on it and wait for it to appreciate and write it off as a software investment. I think that there's a lot of large institutions that currently hold digital assets in their R&D bucket or their software bucket on their balance sheet if they're publicly traded. I could be wrong about that. I don't know for sure, but that seems like a logical conclusion to come to because there are businesses that I know hold digital assets and they are public and the assets are not listed on their balance sheet. So they've got to be somewhere creatively held. And that's my guess is it's under software is where they're holding that value. Let's see here. Here, TK says, when you're investing in other assets, you're probably thinking, damn, I could have invested in XRP. When the price goes, when this thing kicks on, I don't think it's just going to be like a trickle, slow run up to $5 and maybe $10. I know a lot of people are kind of, that's what they anticipate. I could be wrong. Again, I don't know everything, but I think when they actually turn this deal on and it is used at scale for settling value over the mainnet for whatever financial products are used, it's going to move to a lot higher price than most people are anticipating. And then at that point, I'll say this, there's been a lot of people that have spent their XRP on silly stuff. And maybe to those people, it's not silly. To me, it's silly. The NFTs and all of that people have built out on the XRP ledger for JPEGs and land and a lot of these other things. Maybe it has use like way in the future, but I think there's a possible short-term scenario where people are kicking themselves where they purchased that stuff and they could have been holding the XRP. I think they could have, we'll see. I think they could have got a lot more for their money later on if they had just stayed in XRP. But we'll see. Just my 2 cents on that. Daniel C. If you were to drop 5K in crypto right now, which one would you put it in? Not financial advice. I dropped 5K in XRP today. If that's your question, then there's my answer. Let's see here. What's up, Mr. Claver? Hey, Scott Carroll. How are you, sir? Crypto Rip. If you guys haven't seen this guy, I met him at XRP Vegas last year, and he's wearing this cowboy hat. And I'm from Texas, so I'm like, all right, this guy's cool. I go talk to him. Anyway, he came down for our last event for the Mastermind here in Dallas, and he's wearing his black jacket and his black hat, and he's got his Schwab beard, and he looked like Rip off of what is it? It's not Tombstone, golly, Yellowstone. And so anyway, now we call him Crypto Rip in the group. Great guy. He says, my question is, if Tether goes down and stablecoin regs get ushered in quickly, I think that they will. How fast could Ripple stablecoin come to the market? Immediately. Ripple can stand up a stablecoin same day. We talked about that with the CBDCs. They can roll a CBDC out in one day. It's just the backing component that's really the issue for them on that. So I don't know where, Chad Steinberg, if you guys don't follow him on Twitter, another great account to follow. Brilliant. He puts out a lot of good information. He was speculating that, maybe Bank of America would use their reserves to back the Ripple stablecoin. I think they acquire USDC and Circle. And the only reason I think that is Link2 was nice enough to have me in their Discord for a meeting to talk about liquidity events for SPVs or private investment. And it was just interesting to me. Like, they kind of beat me up to show up. And then when I got there, I really didn't talk much. They kind of ran everything down, which was cool. And but so there's 3 ways. Well, there's 4 ways, but main 3 ways that you're going to have a liquidity event for a private investment. It's going to be strategic acquisition by another company, public or private. You could have a direct listing on the stock market, an IPO for the stock market, a SPAC, or a reverse merger. And anyway, the scenario that they gave for Circle at the time in the Discord channel when they were talking about it was that it would get acquired by Bank of America, which nobody had talked about. Nobody had said anything. It was just very obscure that they would even say that. And I was like, was this why I'm supposed to be here? Like, this is what I was supposed to hear in this conversation. And obviously Circle has announced that they're going to IPO. They filed their S1. But they have a very boring business model. They do money markets for USDC, and they pay out a sustainable yield. They used to have a pretty creative lending product against the Bitcoin, and that's how they paid the yield on USDC, but they've since done away with that. They want to be very unsexy, boring, under the radar, compliant. So I kind of speculate that Bank of America does acquire Circle and USDC. We'll see. But back to your question here, they could roll it out same day if they needed to, or even just right before legislation or regulations were put in. Thank you for the super chat. Excuse me. The question is, what platforms for U.S. customers don't show a crypto to USD bank transaction as crypto-related transactions to avoid bank issues? Uphold just says Uphold on there. Coinbase is going to be pretty obvious. I'll tell you one that I do a lot of the time is Cash App. So, and the fees really aren't bad. So if you want to buy Bitcoin on Cash App and then send it over to BitTrue or another exchange and swap it for crypto, whatever you want. Obviously, I'm swapping for XRP, and that's why I use BitTrue. But that's a good way to do it. Then it just shows Cash App on your bank. The only limitation there is that they limit you to $5,000 a week that you can move off of that platform in Bitcoin. So if you're going to do bigger buys, what I would do is I would just wire to the exchange. I don't know I haven't used Kraken's OTC yet. We just partnered with them. So I'm not sure what that shows on your bank statement, but Uphold just says Uphold. And then, like I said, Cash App's another good way, especially if it's a smaller amount, easy way to get in and out. Hey, appreciate you for becoming a member. Hopefully, obviously you're liking this if you're becoming a member, but it's very much appreciated. Everybody that's here on YouTube, my assistant Brenda, she's here in the comments. Appreciate you, Brenda. She said that there's a ton of people watching on Twitter last time. I can't even see the people on Twitter, but if you're on Twitter watching, thank you. It's cool to see the support there. And and that's where I got my start. I used to do Saturday morning spaces. I did for a year and a half every single Saturday. I think I missed like 3 in a year and a half where I would get on there and talk about different topics, whether it was wealth management or tax planning or tax mitigation or estate planning, all those things to do with digital assets in particular. And is super blessed for Twitter and what's now X, right? Elon's got that. But I can't think of a better platform for people to get on and have conversations and be able to speak freely about things. I will say Twitter's, not Twitter, X, excuse me again, probably the most freedom of speech that you can get out of anything. I still see some people get like down regulated occasionally, but it is what it is, right? If somebody else owns the platform, it's not a decentralized application where it is free speech. Library was a great idea, and that got nixed. So hopefully something like that comes back later on, or maybe X buys Library and institutes it or something. Marvin Davis says, so I went to join the Mastermind. Did I miss something, or does it start at 100? I'll just give it away. It's all the way down at the bottom. we try to make it like discreet where it's hard to find. But it is $25 if you go all the way to the bottom for the social membership. And that's really all you need. If you're not going to participate on the private investments with us, or if you just want to try it out and see if it's something that's worth your time or you like it or not, I like having the, $25 option. And that gets you access to the majority of the Discord channels. It doesn't get you access to the resources on the website, but you can kind of get in there in the community and, see if it's for you. And if it's not, no big deal. The only thing I would say is just make sure you friend me. Well, it's not friend. You connect with me on LinkedIn. That way, we kind of have a purview. That's our current grading system for letting people in. But yeah, look forward to seeing you in there, Davis. Or Marvin Davis. Let's see. Ray running it up over here on Twitter. Ray Fuentes, everybody. If you guys don't follow Ray, please go do so. He's a good friend of mine. He's worked at Link2, and he's gone out of his way to help me a lot of the time. Love you mucho, Ray. Appreciate you. Living Legacy. See, there you go. So Carbon is 100, and then down at the bottom, very, very bottom, it'll say social, and it's 25. Let's see here. He says, mindset can't buy me a Porsche. I need XRP to hit double digits. Mindset is more important than the money. I don't know if you guys listen to any motivational speakers. I try to fill my mind with things. You get to choose what you put in your mind every single day. What comes in and how you respond to it. Those are your choices. I like to listen to Jim Rohn, Earl Nightingale, Tony Robbins, a lot of that stuff if I'm walking or just to get my day started sometimes in the mornings. Jim Rohn says, and he's brilliant. I don't know if he's still alive or not. Best you become a millionaire if you come into $1 million, because if you don't, you'll go broke again. And he's completely right. I don't think generational wealth is passed on through the resources or assets that you give your children. It's the mindset, the skills, the traits, the beliefs that you're able to transcend into the next generation. And because if they don't have that, then they're not going to be competent and capable to be able to handle and manage the resources. A lot of the people that aggregate this stuff, you have to go through a lot of the hardships, which hardens you and gives you the skills, traits, and beliefs to be able to actually utilize what you get on the other side of it. And when things are given to you, they don't mean anything, right? And then you also just don't have the mindset or the capability to be able to handle it, and it tends to not go so well for a lot of people. Sometimes it's a burden, which sounds crazy. If you come in, your parent died and gave you $100 million. Now you have all these tax implications and other things you have to worry about, and more money, more problems is a thing if you aren't capable and you don't have the professionals around you to help manage it. It can be a problem. Most I think it's like 70 or 75% of people that come into the lottery are bankrupt within 3 to 5 years. And my hope is that, I get on here and I say all these things, and some of it's probably over people's head, and I probably blather on too long about things. But if you could take one thing away from just the lives or anything else that I put out, it's just to educate yourself on financial education and start thinking about, hey, like if this happens, what do I do? How do I prepare myself and make sure that I am set up? What can I do to be proactive? What can I learn about now that's going to help me in the future, and set yourself up on the other side of it? And I've been really blessed to have a conversation with over 600 people at this point that have reached out and set themselves up being proactive. But I know there's 10,000, 20,000 more people out there that maybe aren't, right? And so hopefully, this reaches somebody new, and that new person thinks, oh, well, maybe I should have an LLC. Maybe I should think about a trust. Maybe I should have an idea of what I'm going to use my profits on when I take them, and not just be the dog chasing the car, and when I catch it, not know how to drive it, right? So, but I'm with you, until it's tangible, it's not translatable to somebody else. But I will say that I guarantee you, if you've been holding XRP for at least a couple years, excuse me, I'm trying to drink, that you have gathered perseverance, patience. Hopefully you've used that time to educate yourself on some of this stuff that I'm talking about and position yourself for what you're coming into. Because if you haven't, it's going to be a big shock. And I think it's still going to be a shock for a lot of people, but you'll be better prepared to handle it if, you know. And I will say about the car, I said this at XRP Vegas last year. I wouldn't buy the Porsche. I would buy a car wash that spits off 6 to 10 grand a month with the money that you're going to spend on the Porsche. And then save up for 6 months, use that for the down payment on the Porsche, and then use the cash flow off the car wash to pay the payment, the insurance, and whatever else repairs and whatever accessories you want for the Porsche. Okay. And now you have an asset that produces the cash flow that pays for the liability or the lifestyle that you want. And you don't have to worry about it, right? You know that income's going to be there every month, maybe even pay somebody else to manage the location or go collect the cash or whatever you need to do. But when you'll get bored with the car at some point. Like everybody that I know that's gotten their dream car, it's cool for like a week, and then they're like, oh, okay, it's not as sexy or appealing, or it didn't give me the same like fulfillment or satisfaction that I thought it would. There have been some people that, they enjoy it. They go drive it on the weekends. It does give them fulfillment to some bit, but most people that drive high-end cars flip them every 2 to 3 years on average. And that just tends to be the case. And the reason they're capable of doing that is they have the cash flow from some assets that they own, that they use to pay the payments on the vehicle, and they can ride. So anyway, if you are going to buy the Porsche, more power to you. I hope it's your dream car. I hope you love it. I hope I'm completely wrong and you get all the fulfillment in the world from it. I would just say, maybe think through that a little bit and maybe buy an asset that actually cash flows and pays for the Porsche. Here's another one. 911 GT3. A lot of cool cars out there. And I'm not saying so where I office here in Dallas is called The Shop. If you guys want to check it out, it's the Shop Club in Dallas. And it's like a country club for exotic car owners. So it's really motivating. You go in there. It's a really cool place to take clients. Go in there and eat and sit down. They have a cigar lounge and a conference room and a bunch of other things that are nice amenities to have. But the view there, they've got every car that you could possibly think of that people hold here in Dallas. And they take care of it for you. So not super big on cars, but I will probably get like an MC20 or another, like an Aston or something on the other side of it. And really that'll be for the networking component of it. I'll take it to car shows and meet other people that have nice cars. Or maybe it'll be a trophy. I know a lot of people that have successes. And if you don't ever reward yourself for the successes and you just continually delay gratification, you actually end up hurting yourself in the long term. So you want to give yourself some reward every time you do achieve something that's been a long-term goal for you. I just see a lot of people continue to defer things and they end up burning themselves out. So, let's see here. This is another good one. Thank you for the kind words. She says, my husband and I appreciate you. Love the Mastermind group. Learned so much. Yeah, thank you. It's wonderful to have you guys in there. And, blessed again to just have the community and such wonderful people, the culture that we've been able to cultivate. Second to none. Just really, I've been a part of other communities and masterminds, like I said before, stuff here in the XRP community also. And, I kind of had a vision, when I started this thing, Max and I, and it's really grown and prospered and become really what we had intended. It's all positive. What's really cool is you can share wins in there and you don't have to feel like you're nobody's going to poo-poo on you. Everybody wants to celebrate with you, and it motivates other people to win in their life, right? It's not a lot of times when you post cool stuff on social media, people will shit on you. Excuse my French. And just because they don't have their life together or things aren't going their way and they want to bring you down, we don't have any of that. We don't tolerate it in the community. So appreciate you for the kind words. I'm glad to have you in there. Man, lots of good comments and conversation here in the chat. Let's see. I'm not sure on this one. Steven has asked, can Stably become a stablecoin? Not sure what Stably is, so I'm not sure how to answer that one. Oh, this is good. Julian says, why does there have to be so much? Be 100 billion XRP? Why so much? Well, that's a fantastic question. If you really were to aggregate all of the value or all the money on a network, you would need a lot of tokens to transmit that value at scale. People just don't realize how much value there really is in the world, and there will be things that are tokenized in the future that have no value today. Data will be tokenized in the future. There'll be, I actually met a guy at NFT NYC that has a framework for how to value data on a risk curve, which I think is brilliant. I think that there'll be stable coins backed by data for Google and Facebook and a lot of these other large tech conglomerates, maybe even Amazon as well. They have AWS, Microsoft has Microsoft Azure, and they have these huge data centers, and they've got tons and tons of users, right? Google's the same way. And if they had a currency or a wallet they could just slap in there with your application where you already have an account, I think that would be a way to really get mass adoption for something very quickly. Some of those people sit on Hedera's board. I think there's a reason for that, but I digress. So the reason for the massive supply, or what seems like a massive supply, is so that the token value can be at a reasonable price. So at scale, if you had just the derivatives market on the XRPL, and you've got quadrillions of dollars in value that would move onto the network. And if you only have 100, I say only 100 billion tokens, that's 5 or 6 zeros above, 5 zeros above 100 billion, right? If you got quadrillions. So that's past trillions, and now we're in like double-digit quadrillions. We've got $10,000 a token at 100 billion XRP. As long as the volume's there to cover that, like that has to be the daily transactional volume. So I think it'll get there. I think that's the premise behind it. Bitcoin can't scale with 21 million. It would have to go to an astronomical price, and the latency and the fees on the network would just be astronomical to be able to move that amount of value, and the electricity that it would consume to be able to do that at scale. It doesn't have the TPS or the throughput. XRP does. And the people that put this together, pretty sharp. I mean, you got Arthur Brito, you got David Schwartz, you got, who was also Jed McCaleb. Those three guys were there at the launch and really thought through things and how much was going to be issued. I'm sure that they probably had chief economists that they consulted with. You had Greg Kidd, was an early employee at Ripple or OpenCoin. So this is interesting. I'll mention this here. I think I kind of drove the point home on why you need 100 billion. But the seed round for OpenCoin was closed and announced 11 years ago tomorrow for angel investment. So cool anniversary for those guys. 11 years later, hopefully on the precipice of potentially an IPO for the company that was OpenCoin that transitioned to Ripple. OpenCoin gifted 80 billion XRP to Ripple to further the network and build it out. They then sold some to institutions and orchestrated deals, which that's what they're in the lawsuit, and the last bit of it will be for now. And when they got fined by FinCEN, they migrated the rest of that to XRP2, which is another company which sold to the institutions and other financial bodies that they dealt with. So anyway, just interesting that anniversary is tomorrow. If you guys want to Google that, you can go check it out. 2013 they closed their venture round for the angel investment in OpenCoin. Let's see here. Ooh. Yeah, well, yeah, against the U.S. government. I don't know that it's all ETHgate. He got indicted, and they put him away for extortion. Stephen Rayoff did, and they manufactured a bunch of evidence in order to do that. And so I think that he will probably win that lawsuit. I don't know that he's going to get awarded $9.5 billion. I don't think that his damages are quite that large. But it sounds really good for a headline. And I do think that he will be awarded something pretty significant. And I think that he'll be the catalyst for a lot of change. All of this will be, I don't know if you guys heard James O'Keefe in his space earlier. He's the one that put out the body cam on the guy that writes the speeches for Jerome Powell, and all of the stuff he was saying about, them trying to like stonewall Trump. Now, at the end of that space, James mentioned that maybe there would be some footage of Gary Gensler and his conversations. So anyway, known James for a long time. Proud of you, man. Appreciate you coming out of stepping into the spotlight with a lot of this stuff. I think it needs to be said, and I can't think of a better person to, put it out there and take it to the people that it needs to be taken to. So, let's see here. We got Tank 20. He says, what do you think of the recent Bank of America news with Ripple? Recent. Once the lawsuit is over, do the go all in and fully green light ODL and cross-border payments? The news isn't recent. There was an article by Bank of America and Ripple back in 2018 that it's been known that they've been a Ripple partner for a long time. They had in 2020, they actually filed the most blockchain patents for a bank or financial institution each year. And a lot of those involve Ripple's technology. So they may or may not have been the enterprise I was discussing earlier that might potentially hold XRP on their balance sheet that's a public company and they hide it somewhere. Once the lawsuit's over, I'm pretty confident that a lot of these banks have built out pretty robust ecosystems and offerings that involve digital assets, but are just holding things back until they do get full clarity and regulation here in the U.S. from Congress. A stablecoin bill would allow them to operate at scale for a lot of the things that they want to institute and use. And I would say ODL, cross-border payments, and a lot more would actually be used by the investment banks, including Bank of America, if we were to get stablecoin regulation here in the U.S. Tank 20. Rob Strong, how are you this evening, sir? Appreciate you hopping on here. A lot of good people here in the chat tonight. Here's another good question. Hey, Jake, do you believe that once we have regulatory clarity for stablecoins, capital will flow into the space? Yes. Significant amount of capital. People will issue stablecoins. Again, I really like what Zach said. Mr. Rector, he pointed out that, maybe this isn't the play for the takeover of Tether because Ripple doesn't necessarily have the reserves to back it. And with 130 billion to provide liquidity like Tether has, but maybe it's just a framework so that other people can issue stablecoins on the XRPL in the same capacity in other jurisdictions for different currencies, right? Aside from the US dollar. So I think that a lot of capital, like Brad Garlinghouse says 5 trillion. I'm going to say, I think 50 times that. Well, 20 times that. Sorry, 20 times that amount by 2025. I think we could get to $100 billion market cap or $100 trillion market cap in crypto by 2025. If CBDCs roll out one right after the other, and we do get large enterprise adoption, and then potentially tokenization of the stock market would be kind of another qualifier for all that to happen. Here we go. John Blazer says, can you speculate per share of Ripple private equity if the company were to IPO? Great long-term hold for dividends, question mark. What's the biggest revenue generator other than selling XRP in the future? So their ODL product, they earn a pretty good yield on that. When I talked to Simon, who's the CEO at Uphold, I got to sit down last year with him at the XTC event in Austin. This year it'll be in Dubai for people that want to go. It's going to be in October. Shout out to Lloyd for putting that on. A lot of great people showed up to that, and I got to make a lot of good connections. So I appreciate you on that, brother. Anyway, I got to sit down at the after party and enjoy some whiskey with the Uphold team. And he mentioned to me that, Ripple was possibly going to partner. Well, actually, he had signed like 2 hours before the partnership with them to be able to convert the currency for XRP and ODL. And anyway, I think that that'll be a huge revenue generator for them. They'll be able to loan out the XRP to other people to use in different applications. Their software, Medico, and the custody service that they're providing generates a ton of revenue. That acquisition wasn't $250 million for no reason. Like, the company was already very profitable when Ripple acquired them, and they'll continue to scale that. I've seen more and more people starting to adopt Medico's infrastructure for the custody solution that they provide. I talked to a guy in the UK today that uses their infrastructure. That'll potentially be another partner for the family office over there in the EU and the UK. They'll be able to operate for the entire EU next week, is what he was telling me. So there's that. And they'll continue. So they bought standard custody. We're still pending approval by the NYDFS for that, but and they're going to get into tokenization of real world assets and major markets, and there'll be other applications. They want to be the Amazon of payments in crypto. That's really the goal. And they continue to reinvest in the company and the software and the applications that they're building, scaling the business. That's something that Amazon did early on. They've taken a page out of their book, and I think that they're going to be really well rewarded for that. They bought back their own stock multiple times. If they didn't think it was going to be valuable, I don't think they would be doing that. Their last tender offer was $285 million that they bought back of their stock at $61.48 a share back in January. We were made to participate in that through a couple of the funds that we had. But yeah, to speculate on the price at IPO, I think it would just be so good if it was $589 a share. I just want to see the look on people's faces if they did IPO at $589. It would be priceless. So that's if I was going to speculate on a price, if I'm Ripple, I'm making it $589 a share. Does it get to that? I don't know. But that's what I'm hopeful for, and that would put them right around $100 billion IPO, which would be the largest IPO ever. Saudi Aramco was is currently the largest IPO. I think they IPO'd it I don't remember if it was 51 or 59 billion, but I think Ripple will be the largest IPO in history, and I think they will be close to $100 billion valuation at IPO. So, and then you asked about dividends. That's a really good question. I think they'll pay dividends. Makes sense to me that they would, especially if they're profitable. I don't know that they'll become a bank per se, but they provide a lot of banking software. They're a fintech company. So I don't know. BNY Mellon pays a good dividend. Bank of America pays a dividend. A lot of the banks pay a dividend. So if they're going to be selling to banks and institutions, maybe they pay a dividend too. I'm hoping that they do because I'm an equity holder. So let's see here. He says Jake's got the XRP Cuban link on. Yeah, so a couple more people have hopped on here. So if you hadn't seen this at the beginning, one of my clients did get me this a couple years ago. It's my XRP spinner chain. And I only wear it on specific occasions when I'm really bullish or excited about XRP. And so I'm in one of those moods tonight. I was feeling really good. The AMM's going live, the fixes here in the morning. And so special occasion, felt like I'd break it out. Again, appreciate Kevin for his friendship and the gift. Let's see here. Mickle's in the chat. How are you, sir? Shout out to Mickle. Like I said earlier, if you guys don't follow him or watch his content, he does a lot of good stuff. This is interesting. He says, Jake, couple quick questions. When you buy a prepaid life insurance policy through your business, what is the percentage you can borrow against, and how can it be done? Thanks in advance. It's a good question. So you would get a key employee life insurance, and it would be whole life, or universal index life, or index life, or universal life. There's a couple different options. Basically, the premise is that money's invested in the stock market or other qualified investments that fit the criteria for the policy. And you can work with, we work with Fidelity or Goldman to be able to issue those lines of credit against it. Used to, you could get a line of credit against it for 90% LTV for like 3 to 4% interest. That has gone up because of the interest rates going up. So now it's closer to like 8 or 9, 7 or 8. You can get as low as 7. I've seen 7 as the interest rate for the line of credit against it. And you can normally get up to like 90 or 95% LTV for the value, the cash value of the policy. So the way that we do it is you're gonna preload the policy. It's normally over a 5-year period. So let's say you had like a $500,000 policy or $1 million policy. You might start with $100,000 that you put in, prepay the premiums at the end of the year. You get to write that off. So it's kind of a 1-for-1. You're not getting like the depreciation like you would against a car where you're able to, write off more than you put in. But you get the life insurance for your family. So it will cover the full amount upon your death, but the cash value of the policy is only what you've invested. And that's what you can take a line of credit against. And it's normally pretty reasonable, especially if you're running a business, because it's going to be less than what you could get for an SBA loan or another business loan, right? So if you're able to draw down that line of credit, you can buy inventory, you can expand your business, you can hire people, you do stuff on your own with it, right? It's nice to have. And then the whole infinite banking concept is that if it's invested in the right places, the cash value should grow because the investments will do well, right? So if you're in stocks and there's not a downturn in the market, I think we're going to have something pretty crazy happen here within the next week or so. Maybe less than that, just depends. We've already seen NVIDIA turnover, which is not good. But anyway, that's kind of how that works. Is you would take out a key employee policy. I'd be whole life or universal life or index life as long as it's invested in the stock market, and then be able to draw cash value or draw a line of credit against the cash value of that at a fair interest rate. So you asked about the percentage, 90 to 95% LTV. If you do it through Fidelity or Goldman. Appreciate you for becoming a member, Common Sense. The lottery that ruined my life is a perfect example of people who had no idea how to handle money responsibly. Yes, but it happens. And that's the crazy part, right? And that's what I'm saying, and a lot of people think they know how to handle money. A lot of people, handling money is a skill, just like anything else until you've done it. At scale, and each zero is another skill set. Let me tell you, people that manage billions of dollars and understand the risk and how to hedge and trade volatility instead of just taking longs or shorts on positions. They pick up pennies all day long, just 500 times over or 500,000 times over. Those are really intelligent people, and they make that money that way for a reason. And they're able to mitigate risk. Risk is, there's a big difference between making the money or becoming wealthy and maintaining wealth. This is all about making a bet, taking a big risk, putting your money where your mouth is and doubling down. And then on the other side of that is wealth preservation. And you don't do this. It's a completely different skill set. and thought process, maintaining wealth versus growing your wealth. Well, I say growing your wealth. You can grow your wealth and maintain it, but like coming into 5, 10, 50, 100, 500, $1 billion, you're going to be very siloed in your risk, and you're going to be all in, and you either make it or you don't. And if you make it, you hit it big, and then you diversify and you hedge, and you make sure that when you are taking risky bets, it's a very small percentage of your portfolio, and they're asymmetric, right? All the wealthy people that I know that do have exposure to crypto, it's less than 1% of their portfolio most of the time. Even if it's Bitcoin, like they don't trust it. It's not a traditional investment. They know that there's volatility, and they don't want the large fluctuations in their net worth. It's just not good for business. It's not good for stress, which we're all aware of. But you kind of it's going to be a weird set of people that end up making their money out of this, because we're going to have gone through the ringer, and you're going to be so used to the volatility in this asset class that you're going to have a very callous attitude toward fluctuations in your net worth in comparison, excuse me, to other people. Very unusual what you have to go through in crypto. Excuse me, sinuses. So most other people, if they see a 5% drawdown in their net worth, they're freaking out. Same thing if it goes up 5%, they're screaming and hooting and hollering, and they think that they hit a home run if they gain 5% of their net worth. I've seen my net worth go up and down 50% in a day in this asset class. More than that, actually. So just very different. And, in the long term, I think XRP will be much more stable than it has been in the past. And it'll probably be a core position that a lot of people hold in their portfolios as a family office or as a wealth manager. It'll be similar to gold, but I think the upside on it will still be pretty good. Even if it were to go to 1,000 a piece, I think the upside is still another. I think I'm going to sound crazy, and you can call me whatever you want. That's fine. But I do think there's enough value that will be tokenized. And if the XRPL does gain the majority of that, I think you could see $1 million XRP one day. David Schwartz has talked about that. He's mentioned $1 million XRP. So just imagine, here's another one. If you guys haven't ever watched XRP Productions YouTube channel, I would encourage you to go check it out. He's got some older videos there. I think he put them out like 3 or 4 years ago. But there's one where there's an older gentleman, and he's in his town, and he goes into this diner, and he has some pie, and this the woman and a young boy are in there, and Jim is the young boy, and he's trying to ask the old man how he made his money, and he tells him about XRP and making the investment and kind of understanding how fast payments happen today, and that things weren't always that way. And he's there building a health center. And his AI assistant, his robot, looks like David Schwartz. Anyway, very interesting. I really enjoyed that video that he put out. And he's at the end of it, he's like, give the woman this many drops and give Jim this many drops based on him completing these tasks. Just think about how in that paradigm, how much a drop would be. So maybe if he's giving him like 8 drops, maybe it was like $80,000, or it could be $8 million. I mean, a drop's not going to be $1 million, but anyway, you get my point. Like, if it really is successful for this, a drop could be a lot of money. And I think eventually you'll see markets and commodities and other things priced in drops and not in dollars, which again, completely, it's hard for me to even reconcile that in my mind, because I've lived in the paradigm of the dollar and everything being denominated in dollars my entire life. We'll see if that works out or not. I don't know. It may just be the dollar hegemony for forever. Ripple's issuing a USD stablecoin, right? So if the dollar wasn't going to be the main transactional currency like it has been, I don't think they would be doing that. They would probably just stick with XRP or do it in something else. So anyway, a good comment here. Hopefully, again, if you take nothing else from this, just try to prepare yourself for the money that you're going to be coming into if you do have investments in digital assets, and find mentors, find people that are already where you want to be, get around them, have conversations with them, get into the right rooms. Don't be afraid to pay to get into the right rooms. That's been the biggest life hack I've ever had. When I started to be willing to pay more than I was comfortable with to get into rooms that I shouldn't be in, that's when my life really took off. Or as for, like my business success, I would say. I was able to get around people that were far ahead of me, and just being around them and hearing the conversations and how they thought made a very big difference in my trajectory. Let's see here. Oh, Matty G, 589. Yes, I love it. He says, please share pros and cons of filling LLC holding co with XRP prices down versus filling it after it moons. Nervous about timing. Haven't filed yet. So the LLC is kind of like a stepping stone. It's a way to mitigate risk in the short term. If you do have, if you've got more than 300,000 or 400,000 XRP, a trust is probably a good way to go. You can still get away with an LLC in the short term, but the main benefit is that you have the flexibility, right? So let's say XRP goes to, I'm just entertain my scenario. Okay. Some people aren't going to believe the numbers, and that's fine. I'm giving you a scenario. Say we saw $100 XRP. Okay. Let's say you got 300,000 XRP goes to $100. You got $30 million. You're married. Between you and your spouse, you get $27.2 million that you can move into a trust with no tax implications. Anything above that amount, just gifting it is going to cost you 40% in taxes. So you're going to have to liquidate just to cover the tax bill, which is silly, but that's the way it works here in the US. In Canada, don't worry about it. Gift to your heart's content. There's no tax implications for gifting in Canada your whole life, as much as you want. They're lucky. Most other jurisdictions like the UK, it's 400,000 for 7 years. So if you're in the UK or Australia or one of these other jurisdictions, you almost absolutely have to get your XRP out of your personal name into a trust or a company. But in the US is what I'll speak to. So doing it now, it's in there beforehand. It appreciates. You can gift small portions of equity to other people that you want to take care of anyway. So maybe it's your kids or your brother or cousin or a friend, whatever it is. And we can get a valuation done on the LLC. And in doing that, we can bring down the valuation from the total asset value and reduce it by 25 or 30%. So now instead of that 30 million, you've now got like 25 million. And now we can gift the whole amount into a trust, right? So you get some flexibility is what it provides you. And it gives you the capability to liquidate a portion of those assets and then use those to purchase things that could cash flow. And then those become investments, and they might have depreciation that you could offset the tax implications for cashing out. You could do the life insurance policy. It just gives you so many other benefits and the flexibility that you wouldn't have otherwise if the stuff is just in your personal name. Let's say you do get to the other side and you haven't set things up, you're going to be fine. Okay, there's lots of solutions. I've made sure that we have those things in place for people because I know those people are out there, and you're just going to pay more is really what it's going to come down to. So if you're in that situation and you set the trust up, and let's say you don't take any profit, now you got the 30 million. We'll probably stick some of that in the life insurance policy. We might move a portion of it into the trust. We could set some up in a company. And then you might keep some in your personal name. Right? We're going to diversify the assets so that you're mitigating risk, but you still have a lot of access to it. You can use that portion for cash flow very easily, and you can make allocations to other things that you don't necessarily need to live your lifestyle and set yourself up for a legacy in your estate for your kids or whatever you want to do. Sometimes that's a foundation. Everybody has different goals or long-term aspirations. So it's in the short term, if you do have an LLC and you have moved your digital assets there, it gives you the most flexibility and the options that you're going to have on the other side of appreciation versus just holding it in your personal name. Cons, there's really not any cons to it, aside from the cost of setting up the LLC, right? So we do that for $800. We set up the EIN, articles of incorporation, registered agent, virtual office, and we give you a template for the operating agreement that's specific to a holding company for digital assets. If you went to an attorney for all that, it's going to cost you $3,000. I know, because that's what we paid for it. So I try to like bring costs down as much as I can for other people, while still making a small profit for us, right? And I again always want you to feel like you got way more value than what you paid for anything that we provide. So that would be the downside, is there is some cost associated with it. And if you have less than, let's say you got less than 50,000 XRP, and you're not planning on selling any in the short term, you're just going to long-term hodl, you probably don't need one, right? The money that you're going to save on the taxes or whatever else is probably going to be better, that you would have paid for the LLC is probably going to be better spent invested than it would spending it with us. So I get a lot of people that reach out that are like, I've got $20,000 invested or $30,000 invested. And sometimes those conversations, especially if they're married, is you don't need one right now. I don't want your money. Like, just keep investing. And then on the other side of it, we'll help you and you'll be fine, So anyway, hopefully that walked you through and gave you kind of some frameworks to think through that and what might be the best options. Bobby Jones, this guy's in here all the time, rooting on XDC. I think he has like he's got to have a button on his computer that just pastes this every time. XDC is the Ethereum killer. Kelly says, I want to be more involved with R3. What can I do? R3 is, they build enterprise applications and solutions for investment banks and financial markets. So if you wanted to be involved with R3, we just reached out to them. We brought them what we wanted to build, and they liked our application. So we started an engagement. They helped us build out scope of work, which they didn't charge for, which we were very gracious for. And they're very professional, enterprise grade team, and the communication and everything else with them has been fantastic. And then we engaged them for the project, and we've developed the POC for our solution with them, and we'll continue to develop with them. And they're very well connected with the investment bank. So if whatever you're building would derive benefit from those connections, I would encourage you to reach out to them. Again, it's been a pleasure to work with them, and happy to promote or make introductions where it's warranted. Hey, this is good. Atlantic Lamy says, I have a question for you and Zach. Do you think that stressing ETHgate so much in the documentary might actually indirectly hurt the space? Please take no offense, just asking. No offense taken, Atlantic Living. So there's going to be an episode on that. In the documentary, there's multiple episodes for the series. One of those is specific to the enforcement actions and the ETHgate scenario. A lot of the documentary is completely separate of that. And I think they've kind of made that a focal point because that's a lot of what they filmed up to this point. And it also gets clicks, right? It's going to drive viewership. But the majority of the documentary is really about the XRPL and its applications and just the story of Ripple and the people that have been involved with the space. So I do think that maybe it's drawn some negative attention to things, but that's just part of it. When you're exposing corruption, there's going to be people that don't like that. I'm not in that part of the documentary. I didn't really touch on that. I've stayed away from that topic purposely, just transparently. We've run a lot of deals, and we register with the SEC. I have direct communication with the SEC, and there are good and bad people out there, is all I'll say on the topic. And but to your point, I think it has drawn a little bit of a negative connotation, and I think people might have the wrong idea about the documentary because that's been kind of pushed to the forefront of things. So would love to hear Zach's thoughts on that also, if he's got the time. Man, lots of good questions and comments here. We get on down. Let's see here. Oh, this is a good one from Kelly again. He says, if XRP is a stable coin, what happens to impermanent loss? Well, XRP will never be a stable coin. It won't ever be a pegged value. The backing for XRP is the value that's on the network. So as value and transactions on the network continue to scale over time, XRP its price will have to scale in order to provide liquidity for all the transactions and the value. So it's stable for periods of time. And really that period of time is like the 3 to 4 seconds it takes you to settle. I look at it more as a bridge currency. I think that's the designation it'll be given. I don't really see it as a stable coin per se. I do think, and if you look at the bill that's in Congress, they have bridge currency, and that's what XLM and XRP fall under. So the impermanent loss, I'm hopeful that really the way I would like to orchestrate this, and I'm pretty sure I'll be successful on it after talking to the regulators that I have, you will hold your assets in qualified custody. Okay. You won't have to put them into the market maker. You might in the beginning. Okay. Until this is really fleshed out and the capabilities are developed at scale. But if you hold your XRP in qualified custody, you'll be able to delegate a liquidity line or a credit line into the automated market maker that's represented in the LP tokens there. And then you don't have any exposure for any impermanent loss because what you've delegated is just liquidity, not the actual asset itself. And so that's what we're looking to orchestrate and provide to our clients. We will have to flesh it out. We are still working with people to do that. A lot of the custodians that we've talked with just don't have that capability yet. Standard Custody and Trust and PolySign's IP do. We've just got to make sure that it's done the right way. So something we're working on, but there will come a point where there is absolutely no chance of impermanent loss. And David Schwartz has talked about, all of that impermanent loss should be eaten up by the mechanisms in the AMM for the people that are arbitraging and bidding for that opportunity in those ecosystems in LP tokens. So we'll continue to learn about that as the AMMs go live. We'll play with them, allocate small investments and make sure that we have the capability to work with clients through the RIA and advise them on what liquidity pools to be able to designate to and make sure that we're able to mitigate risks so that there is no loss for their assets. Let's see here. David, join the mastermind. Appreciate you, brother. Let's see. Man, lots of comments here. XRP Productions. Let's see. Kyle over there on X. Lots of stuff here in the chat. Here's a good one from Christopher. He says, do you think this entire lawsuit was planned out to give Ripple regulatory clarity and to build them as the standard? Is that at all possible? Short answer, yes. Longer answer with contingencies is yes, but the implications for the lawsuit were definitely real for the people involved. I did get the pleasure of getting to see Brad Garlinghouse speak at CoinAlts last year. Him and Jack McDonald had a keynote, and in that conversation, none of it was filmed. They wouldn't allow you to film there because people were very candid with the things they stated, and I really enjoyed it that way. I was sad that other people wouldn't be able to see it, but a lot of really good nuggets were shared there. And it was open to the public, but I think it was like $1,500 if you wanted to show up. It was all the fund managers and fund administration and lawyers that deal with funds and custody and all of that side of things is who put that on. Anyway, in that conversation, he talked about the lawsuit with the SEC and Paul Grinhouse, what I can't think of, Grawlinghouse, whatever his last name is, the Coinbase lawyer. He spoke to and had about his disdain, for the SEC. Anyway, in Brad's conversation, he, kind of yucked it up a little bit and said, when the lawsuit was filed, he had long-standing banking relationships and credit cards that just got cut off overnight because he was named explicitly in the lawsuit, and people did not want to deal with him. And people kind of chuckled in the crowd, and he was like, "Yeah, except it fucking sucked." Excuse my French. That was literally what he said. And people were like, "Oh, like this was real. Like you had actual effects on your life, and we shouldn't be laughing at this." And you shouldn't, right? Like he had to deal with the real implications of the lawsuit. And I'm sure Chris Larson did too. And all the people that were involved still had real damage from being involved in the lawsuit and personally named, right? So even if it was orchestrated at a high level in order to put XRP out front and give it regulatory clarity and Ripple to be first out of the gate, the people did have real problems because of this, and they've had to endure it for 3 years and put up with it. And so I'm glad to see that. I'm hopeful that it's coming to a resolution here, and that XRP will kind of have a moat, in the short term. There's only two assets, according to Brad Garlinghouse and other people, that have regulatory clarity in the U.S., and that's Bitcoin and XRP. And everything else is still up for grabs by the SEC or other regulators. So to answer your question, in short, yeah, I do think that there may have been some plans within plans, but the implications for people were still real. Let's see here. Tasha Lee says, would the $800 apply to set up a trust here in Australia by you? So we have a partner there in Australia that can set that up for you, and I think it's like it's like 400 Australian to set up a family trust there for digital assets. And if you email me, anybody that wants information, you're more than welcome to email me and my team. It's just info@digitalfamilyoffice.io, and we will get back to you with whatever contacts you need. That's free. I'm happy to just share the resources I've been able to aggregate with people that need them. And if we can help you and provide value in any other way, if you do want to schedule a consult or anything else, awesome. My team is happy to meet with you and have a conversation, or myself. If you want to schedule with me, I'm happy to sit down with you. I had 4 of them today, met with wonderful people and help them, situate themselves previous to the liquidity event. But yeah, it's actually, I think it's like $400 Australian there to set up a family trust in Australia. Tasha Lee. Let's see here. Lots of good comments here. Let's see. SLC Sin says, will those that are not accredited investors be able to buy Ripple shares, or is it smart to stick with XRP? I'll just plug the Mastermind. Members in our community are able to participate in the private investments that we run there. They qualify as sophisticated investors, and we run 506B Reg D funds within the group. So we do not publicly market the securities or the funds that we run. It's only for the community members. The 2 stipulations for non-accredited investors to be able to participate in a 506B or Reg D fund is we have to have a pre-existing business relationship with that individual, which the Mastermind constitutes that. You're paying us for something. And then secondary to that, you have to qualify as sophisticated, and that means that it's arbitrary in the US. Like, there really isn't a full designation for that, but we feel that you meet those qualifications because we provide financial education and business resources through the website and the Mastermind group. So with both those things, we're able to allow up to 35 non-accredited investors to participate on the deals with us that we run inside the Mastermind. And we may or may not have Ripple shares in the Mastermind. Have to come in there to see. So that's what I would say. S. Oro says, without opening an LLC, is there another way to save taxes when cashing out after this bull run is over? Don't pay them? Not really, no. You get a standard deduction as an individual. And if you hold, okay, so let's talk about long-term, short-term capital gains. If you've held the assets longer than a year, then yeah, you're only going to pay 20%. And for some people, that's easier. Some people don't want to deal with the complicated structuring of their estate or the other things. They just want to cash out their mill, set their $200,000 aside, and know that they're going to pay Uncle Sam that money, and they're going to take the $800,000 and they're going to spend it however they want and live their life. And that's simpler for some people. I will say that. I've had people choose to do that just because some of this other stuff's overwhelming for them. They didn't feel comfortable for whatever reason. And to each their own, right? But if you do have short-term capital gains, they're going to be pretty extensive. Could be up to like 42%. And depending on what state you're in, could be even higher than that. If it's going to be over 600,000 and you're married, you're going to be paying close to maybe 50% tax if you're in California or New York. The other benefit is if you are in a high tax state, if you're setting up the LLC in Wyoming, which is what we do, you get the benefit of no taxes in that state, as long as you're not paying yourself a paycheck. If you pay yourself a paycheck, and you have to pay yourself something, so I'll go ahead and work through that. An LLC can file its taxes as an S corp, and in doing that, one of the stipulations is you have to pay yourself a reasonable salary in the eyes of the IRS, and so that tends to be somewhere between $50,000 and $70,000 a year that you pay yourself W-2, and you will pay, the other 13.5% tax on that, which is Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, all the payroll taxes that you normally think of for your W-2. You're going to have to pay those on that allotment of money. But any distributions that you take from the company, you don't have to pay that extra tax on it. And when you move your assets into the LLC, there's no step up in basis. You're going to gift them to as a capital contribution to start the business. And so those assets stay at the cost basis and for the time frame that you've held them, and you get to capitalize on the capital gains, either for long-term capital gains if it's been over a year, as long as you do it as a holding company. If you do it as a trading company, it's going to move everything to short-term gains. So just be leery of that. That's why most of the time I suggest that you do it as a holding company when you're setting things up. But no. There's not really another way that you could save on taxes. You're going to want your stuff in a trust or an LLC. Let's see here. To all, is 2K XRP a good base? A lot of people are asked, like, how much is enough? Whatever you can afford. I'll give you an example. There's some people that in my peer group and people that I've talked to over the last couple of years, I tell anybody that I care about or have a good conversation with that seems at all interested, I'm like, hey, here's this asset. Here's some other ones. Do some research on this stuff. Come back to me. Tell me what you think. Some people do. Some people don't. And that's okay too. Like my barber. I go see him, every 4 weeks or so. And he lives paycheck to paycheck. Very nice guy, good guy. Used to be a musician. Used to date Miranda Lambert, if you guys know who she is. And anyway, he had like $500 extra, and that's all he bought when it was like 30 cents. And he stuck it in a cold wallet. And I'm like, look, I know you don't have a retirement fund, guy. So if you got $500 today, and you're going to invest it on your own volition, I'll help you do it if you want to. But if it works out, it's $500, and it could turn into millions of dollars for him, and he'll be able to retire in 5-6 years, right? If I'm wrong, he lost $500. Like, it's not going to break the bank for him. So don't invest any more than you like. Don't play your rent money on it. Okay, if you need money to pay your bills and do other stuff in your life, I wouldn't suggest investing that. But anything that you can set aside and is reasonable, and that's going to be different for everybody, is the amount that you should invest in things. So That's what I would say. Running up on an hour and 45 minutes here, so probably hang out for another 15, and then we'll call it a night. For the people that have come in late, this is my XRP spinner chain. That's pretty cool. Anyway, you're probably wondering why I look like a rapper tonight, but I get excited sometimes, and I like to change it up, and felt it was appropriate, with the AMM going live here in the morning, like 6 hours from now. Just, I'm pumped about the space. I'm excited about a lot of the things that we've been talking about that seem to be happening at a very rapid pace. And I'm hopeful that we do see some price appreciation here, long awaited for a lot of people. And really that'll come from utility of the asset being used, hopefully, if I'm right, to save the financial system from collapse, which is what, I don't know if you guys follow Michael Gade, but he thinks we are just screwed. And he would be right if we did not have a system to be able to pull ourselves out of this hole with, which is what I think the XRPL and XRP are going to be used for. Digital Native says, "Hey Jake, I used your lawyer you recommended during the consultation to set up the LLC, and I used the template that you have on your site for operating agreement. Is that different from the one you offer in the 800? Yeah, so we've updated that. The operating agreement, we used to just provide a template that you could find online anywhere, but now we have one that's been drafted by legal counsel that is specific to a digital asset holding company, has all the provisions and everything else, disclosures that you would need in there to make sure that you're above board with that. And the attorney that we use, Michael's great, Mr. Porpat. I like him. He's over in New York. He does a good job. He'll take good care of you on keeping up with the maintenance of your LLC, making sure that you are paying the fees that come along with that over the period each year. He doesn't set up a bank account for you. That's the other thing. I didn't mention that earlier. And we can't set it up for you, but I can walk you through exactly how to do it. And the partner that we have basically pre-fills the form for you, so it makes it very easy to get a bank account established for your LLC that you set up with us now. So we've come a little ways, since we used to just charge the 400, and that really just kind of covered our cost on things. And same now, we really don't make a whole lot on this. It's really just to provide a value for the community. But yeah, the operating agreement is different. And if you do need that, you should have got an email from me at some point around that. We did offer the operating agreement like $250 when we first launched it. And now it's $500 for the specialized operating agreement template. So let me know if you want it. Happy to provide it for you. And if you set something up with us before, just reach out to me via email and we'll take care of you. Let's see here. Next 3 weeks are going to be very interesting. I would agree with that. Tiffany says, "Hey Jake, could Ripple take Tether's position when they have sanctions if XRP was pegged to gold with what they have in escrow?" So one of the stipulations in the stablecoin bill is the backing cannot be a digital asset, and XRP won't ever be pegged to gold. If it was, then it would be a stagnant value. It wouldn't be dynamic, and it wouldn't be able to scale with more value moving onto the network. I know a lot of people talk about that. I've heard a lot of people I respect say that. That's not going to be the case. It can't be, because it's going to continue to be able to grow in value as more volume and transactions and value are tokenized on the network. So I don't know what they're going to use. SBI, that's in Japan. They're partnered with R3, and they're also a 10% equity holder in Ripple. I think Japan is going to dump U.S. Treasuries, and I think when they do that, they're the largest holder. I think everybody else is going to dump U.S. Treasuries also, all of our foreign interest at the same time, which would be devastating for the U.S. We would have to imminently roll into a new system to make sure that we hedged ourselves and didn't collapse. Maybe that's what happens. Anyway, a lot of those U.S. Treasuries would be up for grabs for somebody. If Tethers were sanctioned, they're the 6th largest holder of U.S. Treasuries. So somebody's got to buy those. I don't know if it's the Treasury. The Fed, I think, has been rolled into the Treasury at this point. So could we print the money and buy them back? Yeah, but then we have hyperinflation. So I don't know what happens on all that. I wish I had answers for you. It'll be some solution that seems so simple right now. When it does happen, then I'll be like, should have known that was going to happen. But off the top of my head, I haven't really thought through that scenario and played it out enough to understand the implications for it. And then who would be like the lender of last resort to be able to pull that liquidity up. I don't think it's Ripple. Could be the IMF. But yeah, Ripple is going to have to back their stablecoin with something in order to take Tether's position. They don't have $130 billion worth of assets right now to be able to do that. Like I just mentioned before, they're going to IPO, and I think their IPO is around $100 billion valuation. So even the total value of their company isn't going to be enough to back the stablecoin to provide the liquidity that Tether currently has. So I don't know. I do think that they play an important role. I think that their stablecoin will be used at scale by a lot of financial institutions and other people as their USD holding. I would love to hold Tether's stablecoin if I was going to cash out and be able to use that within their ecosystem on the XRPL to purchase, tokenized equities or other things. But yeah, I know these things are coming. I know the dominoes are falling. I know that where we're positioned benefits from all of that. In what order and to what extent and how that unfolds, I don't have all the answers, would be what I would say. But to the two things you mentioned here, I don't think that Ripple takes Tether's place completely. I think USDC probably takes Tether's place. And maybe Bank of America acquires Circle and then buys all the treasuries to be able to back it. And just spitballing things. And XRP won't be pegged to gold. Gold will be tokenized on the XRPL. And other things as well. But XRP can't be pegged to any one given asset. Lots of good people here in the chat tonight. Just want to say I appreciate everybody. We got a lot of viewership on this one. Hopefully it's been valuable for you guys. We've had a lot of good questions that I've been able to run down tonight. Here's another one. So Crypto Black says, hey, Jake, recently joined the group. I'm from Canada, purchased the $800 LLC. Do you send the template by email? Also, contact you provided in Canada is here is additional cost. Yeah, so Aaron Grinhoss is who we work with in Canada up there. He primarily works with people to offshore their estates down in the Caymans and Bahamas. When the time comes, if you want to move to a little bit warmer place in Snowbird down there, he can get you bank accounts and all that stuff set up. And he is ancillary cost to anything we charge. I just know that he takes good care of people and has the competency to be able to help you because he sits as like the director of the board of crypto professionals up there in Canada. And he's got access to CPAs, accounts, almost the full network of people I have here in the US, he has there in Canada. And so that's why we chose to partner with him. But the LLC here, we can set that up for you. We've done that for other Canadians, and it's been beneficial for them. So we'll get that over to you, and you will get it by email. You'll get all the information I mentioned before by email. Let's see here. Do you mean having, or did I miss something else? I don't think the halving has any impact on price. I think that a lot of the halving this time around has been buy the rumor, sell the news, and we're going to see mass liquidation of Bitcoin within the next 10 days here. I could be wrong. I could, maybe we get sideways trend and then up. I was watching Blockchain Backer earlier today. If you guys don't follow him, another great TA analyst at this part of the XRP army in the community. He thinks we're in consolidation and it's bullish, and we've still got like another month before we see another leg up in Bitcoin. I don't think so. I think that Tether is quickly going to have some problems for Bitcoin and the larger market and potentially the stock market if We did see like a 40 or 50% drawdown in Bitcoin, and the banks had unrealized losses, and they settled T+2, and it didn't recover very quickly. They would have to pull from their other positions to cover the calls and shore things up, and then that would cause a downward momentum in the stock market beyond what's already started now. The Fed's not going to loosen rates. If anything, they're going to tighten after the CPI was up today. So it's a very precarious position we're in, and I thank God for XRP, because if we didn't have that, I think we would be going into a horrible depression globally. It wouldn't just be the US. It would be a catastrophic time for everybody and all asset classes. It wouldn't just be one either. It would be treasuries. There would be no safe place if you didn't have XRP. Let's see here. I'm going down to the bottom. Marco, thank you for the super chat, brother. He says Ripple has bought back 10 billion XRP outside of the escrow. So if the price of XRP goes to $20, Ripple would have the funds to back their stablecoin. They can't do it with XRP, though. They would have to liquidate that XRP into cash or cash equivalents in order to back a USD stablecoin. That's what I'm saying. Like, unless XRP gets a designation as a tier 1 asset by the BIS, which I would love for that to happen, please happen. Then it's still a digital asset, and in the stablecoin regulation that the US has, it would not be allowed to be the backing. So unless something changes where they do allow a bridge currency or a tier 1 asset in the banking system, and that's given as a designation to XRP, we're probably not going to see that, and they would have to liquidate a large portion of their XRP to fund the backing for the stablecoin. So, all right, down here to the bottom. With 3 minutes to spare. Cool. I'll take one more here. Thank you, CJ. Thank you for the kind words. You're the best, brother. Everybody on here is the best. I just feel so blessed and grateful to be a part of this community with you guys and be in a position that I can provide some value for other people. Like I said earlier, I get a lot of fulfillment from what I do and what my company does, and what we're able to provide for other people, because it's an actual need, right? We're helping people make sure that they set things up and they are prepared for the wealth that they're coming into, and that they're going to have the resources on the other side of that to be able to take the most advantage of it. And like I said earlier, I've put all this together selfishly. I wanted institutional custody for my assets, and so reached out to Standard Custody and had the family office, and we're the only family office in the US that provides institutional qualified custody for digital assets for their clients with Standard Custody and Trust. There is one other one that provides it in Anchorage. We've had discussions with them. Anyway, yeah, I'm super blessed. And he says, when does Swift convert to XRP usage? When they have to. They're not going to have a choice. They're going to have to migrate to real-time payments. And that's when they're going to be made to choose XRP. And they're either going to partner with RippleNet or R3, and it's not going to matter which one they choose, because the settlement mechanism is going to be the same, because it's going to be the only digital asset that has that capability, that has legal clarity in the US. So it's that or Bitcoin. Well, I know which one I'm going to use. So anyway, I don't have a time frame on that. I expect that it's sooner than later, but it's going to be the last possible minute. People aren't going to make this change until they're absolutely forced to, and I think we're on the precipice of that. We'll go ahead and wrap it up with this one. Thank you, Chris. Thank you for the kind words here. He says, love you, brother. Appreciate your attitude and your knowledge. You have a great evening. Be calling you when it moons. I will say this. So I really appreciate that, and I'm excited to work with everybody on the other side of the liquidity event. But anybody that is in the mastermind group or has had a consult with our team previous, has set up an LLC, has been proactive, we'll take priority over other people. I've made promises, and loyalty is a big thing to me. I take care of people that take care of me. And anyway, we just want to make sure that those that have been here from the beginning reap rewards from that, right? There's been people that have been along this journey since the beginning with us when we started the mastermind more than a year ago, that had belief in us when we didn't have anything to show for it. I just had got on Spaces for 6-8 months at that point and talked about a lot of things. And we said, hey, we think we're going to do a community, see what interest is. It's $25 to get started. And we had like 200 people throw in. It blew me away. And then I was like, okay, well, now we got to fulfill, right? We've got to execute on what we've said for these people. And we've fallen short in some areas, just like everybody does, right? But I think for the majority, we've done a really good job at executing on the goal for the group. And we're definitely the only group that's been able to run private investment at scale, and give people access to things that weren't accredited. Link2 started doing that after we did, and kind of proved the model for them. So anyway, really proud of what we've been able to build, and I'm really proud of the group and the people that have stood with us from the beginning and then joined us along the way, right? I was on so in Carbon 2, we have a call on Sundays, and it's mostly business owners and people that are professionals that have 6, 7, 8, 9 figure businesses that they either run or are executives for. And in there, we were talking about just the power that, our group is going to have if we really do see the price appreciation that a lot of us think we're going to. Coming together as a group, we basically act like a financial institution, and Digital Ascension Group. We've already been able to garner some of those partnerships and position ourselves for that, to be able to leverage those relationships and really get better deals for people, lower fees on things, better interest rates on things, pool our capital together and go in on investments to diversify risk. Anyway, I'm just really excited to be able to sit with everybody and work as a team to execute, and provide even more value than you could just standing alone, right? And I think that's the benefit of being part of a community, and a group of people that are like-minded and have aligned interests and goals. So if that's something you're interested in, like I said, we would love to have everybody in the community with us. It's Beyond Broke Mastermind. Mastermind.beyondbroke.com is the website if you want to go check it out. I think it's pinned on my Twitter. If you guys want to go check it out there, it's an easy way to just click it. And like I said, it's like $25 for the social membership. So, but everybody there will take priority on the other side of price appreciation. We want to make sure that we take care of people that take care of us. Loyalty is one of my core values. So anyway, and like I said, we're trying to put everything in place so that we can scale and make sure that everybody gets taken care of. But there's certain priorities. So with that, I am going to go ahead and wrap it up. Well, we got one more super chat here, so I'll throw it out here. Thank you, Heather. She says, enjoy the Masters weekend. Yeah, I've talked about my golf experience before on here. But yeah, I definitely will be excited to see people play. And I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend as well. Hopefully the rest of this week is everything that we're hoping for and more. And with that, y'all have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you on the next one.